Once upon a time, in a remote village surrounded by dense forest and beautiful hills, there lived two brothers, Kofi and Kwame. Though they were born of the same parents, they were as different as night and day. Kofi, the elder, was known for his kindness, honesty, and gentle nature. He was a man of few words but deep wisdom. The villagers respected him and often sought his counsel. Kwame, the younger, was impulsive, greedy, and selfish. He constantly sought shortcuts to wealth and fame, often at the expense of others. The brothers inherited a small plot of fertile land and a humble house from their parents. Kofi took it upon himself to work the land diligently. He planted crops, tended to the animals, and maintained their home. He lived a simple life, always willing to share what little he had with others. Kwame, on the other hand, despised the work that farming required. He spent his days dreaming of riches and ways to obtain them without lifting a finger. One evening, Kwame overheard a group of travelers in the village marketplace. They spoke in hushed tones about a mysterious enchanted river deep in the forest. According to the legend, the river held magical powers. It was said that at the break of dawn, the waters could transform a simple stone into solid gold. However, the path to the river was fraught with danger, treacherous ravines, wild beasts, and dark spirits that guarded the sacred waters. Kwame's eyes sparkled with greed as he listened. If he could reach the river, he could become the richest man in the village, maybe even the entire kingdom. The thought consumed him. That night, he could hardly sleep, his mind racing with visions of gold and glory. But he knew he couldn't embark on this dangerous journey alone. He needed someone strong, resourceful, and reliable, someone like his brother Kofi. The next morning, Kwame approached Kofi with a plan. He spoke of the enchanted river and the limitless wealth it promised. He played on Kofi's sense of duty and family loyalty, knowing that his brother would find it difficult to refuse.
Kofi,
Kwame pleaded,
this is our chance to change our lives forever. Imagine what we could do with all that gold. We could build a bigger house. Mom and Dad would be so proud. We could also help villagers and ensure our family's name is remembered for generations to come. But I need your help, Kofi. I cannot do this without you.
Kofi was reluctant. He had heard the same stories, but knew that such quests were dangerous and often led to disaster. However, Kwame's persistence and the thought of helping his village finally swayed him.
Alright, Kwame,
Kofi agreed.
I will accompany you, but remember, wealth is not everything. We must be cautious and not let greed blind us.
With that, the brothers set off on their journey. They packed only what was needed, some food, water, and a few tools. The villagers watched them leave, offering prayers for their safe return. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the path became more difficult to navigate. The trees grew thicker, blocking out the sunlight, and the air became heavy with a scent of damp earth and wildflowers. The first night in the forest was eerily quiet. The only sound were the distant howls of wolves and the rustling of leaves in the wind. Kofi and Kwame made camp near a large boulder, lighting a small fire to keep them warm. Kofi suggested they take turns keeping watch, as the forest was known to be home to all manner of creatures, both natural and supernatural. As Kofi took his first watch, Kwame lay down, staring up at the stars through the canopy of trees. His thoughts were consumed with the golden river. He imagined returning to the village with sacks of gold, the villagers cheering his name, and his wealth securing him a place among the elders. Greed and excitement raced through his veins, but as he drifted off to sleep, a shadowy figure appeared in his dreams. In the dream, a beautiful woman dressed in flowing white robes stood by the river, floating above its surface. Her skin glowed like the moon, and her eyes were as deep and dark as the night sky. She beckoned Kofi closer, and as he approached, she whispered,
"The river can give, but it can also take away. Beware of the price of greed, for it is greater than you can imagine."
Kwame jolted awake, drenched in sweat. The fire was still burning, and Kofi was still keeping watch, his eyes scanning the darkness. Kwame didn't mention the dream, dismissing it as nothing more than just his mind playing tricks on him. But the image of the woman lingered in the back of his mind. The next day, the brothers continued their journey. The forest grew denser and the path more treacherous. They encountered deep ravines that they had to cross using makeshift bridges of fallen logs. They navigated through thick underbrush and waded through streams, all while keeping a wary eye on their surroundings. At one point, they came across a wild boar. The beast was large and aggressive, its tusks gleaming in the sunlight. Kwame panicked and wanted to flee, but Kofi remained calm. He instructed his brother to climb a nearby tree while he slowly backed away, making sure not to provoke the animal. The boar eventually lost interest and wandered off, allowing the brothers to continue their journey. As they traveled, Kwame grew increasingly impatient. He complained about the difficulty of the journey, the lack of comfort, and the dangers they faced. Kofi, however, remained focused and determined, reminding his brother that they needed to stay vigilant and not let their guard down. After several days of arduous travel, the brothers finally reached the enchanted river. The river was a sight to behold. The water shimmered like liquid silver under the pale light of the moon. It flowed gracefully, cutting through the forest like a ribbon of light, surrounded by tall, ancient trees. The air was cool and crisp, and a soft mist rose from the river's surface, giving it an otherworldly glow. Kwame's eyes lit up with excitement as he rushed to the riverbank. He picked up a small stone and dipped it into the water, holding his breath. As the first rays of sunlight broke through the trees, the stone began to change. It glowed with a bright golden light, and when Kwame pulled it out of the river, it had transformed into solid gold.
"Look, Kofi, it's true. The river really does turn stones into gold,"
Kwame exclaimed, his voice trembling with excitement. Kofi watched his brother with a mixture of awe and caution. He too picked up a stone and dipped it into the river, watching as it turned into gold. But unlike Kwame, he felt no rush of greed. Instead, he marveled at the beauty of the river and the magic it held. Satisfied with a single gold stone, Kofi lay by the river bank, taking in the serene beauty of the forest and the morning sun. But Kwame was not satisfied. Driven by greed, he began frantically collecting stones, dipping them into the river as quickly as he could. Each stone turned into gold, and soon he had a large pile of golden rocks at his feet. But Kwame didn't stop there. His eyes gleamed with a manic intensity as he continued to gather more stones, oblivious to the passage of time. The sun rose higher in the sky, and the river's magical glow began to fade away. Kofi noticed this and warned his brother.
"Kwame, it's enough. The river's magic is fading. We should leave before it's too late."
But Kwame ignored him. He was consumed by his desire for more gold. Just as Kofi feared, the river's sparkle dimmed, and the water turned murky. Kwame dipped another stone into the river, but instead of turning into gold, it dissolved into dust in his hand. Panic set in, and Kwame desperately tried to scoop up more stones, but each one of them crumbled to dust as soon as it touched the water. To his horror, Kwame looked at his pile of gold beside him and saw that it was also turning to dust. He frantically tried to gather the crumbling gold, but it slipped through his fingers like sand. The more he tried, the more the dust scattered in the wind. Within moments, all that was left of his fortune was a pile of worthless earth. In despair, Kwame collapsed by the riverbank, clutching the dust in his hands. His dreams of wealth and glory had turned to ashes before his eyes. He wept bitterly, realizing that his greed had cost him everything. As Kwame sat by the riverbank in despair, the water began to ripple, and a figure emerged from the depths. It was the woman from Kwame's dream, her robes flowing like the river itself. Her eyes were filled with a mix of sadness and sternness as she approached the brothers.
"I warned you, Kwame,"
she said in a voice that echoed like the wind through the trees.
"The river can give, but it can also take away. Your greed has brought you nothing but ruin."
Kwame looked up at the woman, his face streaked with tears.
Please, I beg you, give me another chance. I have learned my lesson. I will not be greedy again.
The woman regarded him for a long moment before speaking.
"The river's magic is not to be trifled with. You were given a chance, and you squandered it. However, your brother has shown the strength and wisdom. He will not let greed blind him."
She turned to Kofi, who stood respectfully at the riverbank.
"Kofi, you have shown that true wealth lies not in gold, but in wisdom and contentment. For your humility and integrity, the river will grant you one wish, but choose wisely, for the magic of the river is a gift, not a tool for personal gain."
Kofi thought for a moment, then replied,
I wish for my brother Kwame to be freed from his greed and to find peace and contentment in his heart.
The woman smiled gently.
"Your wish is granted."
With a wave of her hand, the river's water shimmered once more, and a soft glow enveloped Kwame. He felt a warmth spread through his chest, and the greed that had consumed him for a long time began to melt away. His heart felt lighter, and for the first time, he understood the true meaning of wealth.
Thank you,
Kwame whispered, his voice filled with gratitude. The woman nodded, then slowly faded back into the river, leaving the brothers alone once more. The forest seemed to sigh with relief, and the air grew calm and peaceful. Kofi and Kwame began their journey back to the village, the single gold stone in Kofi's pocket and a new understanding in their hearts. The path seemed less treacherous this time, and the dangers that had once seemed insurmountable now felt manageable. When they arrived home, the villagers welcomed them back with open arms. They were curious about their journey and what they had found. Kofi shared the story of the enchanted river, but emphasized the lessons they had learned rather than the magic they had encountered. From that day on, Kwame worked hard alongside his brother. He no longer sought shortcuts to wealth, and he found joy in the simple pleasures of life. The single gold stone they brought back was used wisely to improve their land and to help those in need, but it was the wisdom they gained that truly enriched their lives. The brothers lived in peace and prosperity, not because of gold, but because of the bond they shared and the lessons they had learned. Greed blinds us to what we already have, leading us to chase more at the cost of happiness. It drives people to take more from others, creating a cycle of envy and discontent. True wealth lies not in possessions, but in contentment and generosity. Greed corrupts the soul, turning friends into foes and joy into misery. In the end, those who are driven by greed may gain the world but lose their peace. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel. Catch you in the next video.